It's crazy when you think about how the like destruction of the human psyche has been orchestrated since the like industrial revolution. Really, people will be like, oh, late stage capitalism is just horrible, and it's like, yeah, it's pretty horrible, but it's also functioning exactly as intended, right? So with the desire for infinite growth on a planet with finite resources comes the need for exploitation. You gotta have your workforce. So there's a lot going on in history that led up to this point, to where in like the 1950s the nuclear family propaganda started. You have during World War II women beginning to enter the workplace, which was a boom in production in and of itself. But then in the 50s we're in what's known as the Cold War. So you have all these people who've come back from World War II victorious. You have women beginning to enter the socially recognized workforce, because we know women have always worked, but now they're contributing to the GDP. And so during this time, America started rolling out insane amounts of propaganda of the idealized family unit. This is the nuclear family. That's two parents, ideally where the dad is working and the mom stays at home with a couple of kids. And you get like the Donna Reed show, Leave It to Beaver, the Dick Van Dyke show, all of these like fun, cutesy, idealized versions of happiness and what you as your average American person should hope to attain. And if you check these items off your list, you get your job, you get your wife, you have a couple of kids, then you too will be happy. The push to distance your immediate family, such as spouse and children, from your extended family, such as parents, siblings, nieces, cousins, all of that is very new, because capitalism also needs consumers. So I think it's important when we're observing our society and insisting what is and is not normal or natural to human familial structures or functions, I think it's important to ask ourselves, where did we get this idea of normalcy from? Right, like a lot of the legislative action taken by the United States, when you look at it from the perspective of trying to get as many people as possible to be in the workforce and purchasing the goods, it makes sense why there's a push for family division, to where your only family is your spouse and your kids. There's a push for at least one parent to be working if people can afford that. But nowadays, now that we're in 2023, we're way past the economic boom of the 50s and 60s. Who can fucking afford a one-income household, much less with kids? Nobody I know. So much of American society has been these idealized lies that make you feel like if you cannot live up to these semi-reasonable expectations that are being presented to you, that you are a personal failure. Like, I like to think of America as one of those carnival games where like you go to the carnival, you pay a bunch of money, and like every 30th turn is rigged so that like some people win prizes to give you the illusion that you too could be a winner, but really the system is all rigged. One of those like lottery things at a casino be the same way? I've never been. I imagine that would be the same way. Like, America's on a much, much larger scale, where it's like some people can pull themselves up by their bootstraps, some people can do it, some families can have this dynamic and be perfectly happy. And if you can't do it, if you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps, if you can't live this perfect idealized Leave It to Beaver lifestyle and still be happy and have all your needs met, well, what are you doing wrong? Your government that you pay like 30% of your taxes to is not meeting your basic needs? That's crazy. That's gotta be a you problem, right? And so you're absolutely right. I think collectively a lot of children bear the burden of their parents having to provide for them. Right, so like I absolutely understand it from both sides, because if you're a child and your parent is never around because they have to work so that your basic needs are met, you don't understand capitalism. You understand who is and is not present. So I understand where the resentment from children comes from parents who are arguably doing their very fucking best. Well, I know there are a lot of parents who don't, but I also see where the frustration of parents come from, right? Because like, I don't have kids. Thank God I don't have kids. But if I come home from an 11-hour shift and I ask my little crotch gremlin to take the chicken breast out of the freezer and they didn't do it, something that I have done to my mom. Sorry, Mom. I would be fucking pissed too. I'd be like, dog, do you understand I was working all day? I asked you to do one thing, and that was load the dishwasher or pull something out of the freezer. You couldn't even do that? What are you doing all day? But see, that's not even fair, because then we could go into how the American education system just sets up students to be cogs in the capitalist worker machine. So you're not set up to actually get an education. You are just set up to wait out the clock. Get used to an 8, 9, 10 plus hour work day. Get used to being at work and then being assigned a ton of extra work to go home and do. America's awful. We are all suffering. But this is legislative design. This is capitalism. This is white supremacy functioning exactly as intended.